It's your boy, Brother Ron, with the Daily Smoke. And we have with us today, we have Brother Los, Tiffany Scales with us. And I want to be the first to introduce you all to our first and foremost important member we have received as of late, that we are so grateful to have in our presence, the Miss Tiffany Scales.
Hey, y'all.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being a part of our
Which
platform.
is going to be one of our new segments.
Absolutely.
The Daily Smoke presents the Word Petition.
Absolutely.
Scales.
Word
I'm so
petition.
grateful. I'm so grateful.
Thank you. We are grateful to have you. And we also are going to have her presenting her platform either on Tuesdays and Thursdays or Tuesdays or Thursdays. So we're
See how
still
much
working
y'all like
on that.
me.
Exactly. They're going to love you, man. You good. You're home. They're going to love you,
Ready for a
man.
treat.
They're going to love you. Absolutely.
I'm excited.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being with us, Tiffany. How you doing?
Man, I'm so grateful. I know sometimes I get to a space where I'm like, what am I going to say? Whether it's at an event, a funeral, a wedding. I'm like, hold on now. I'm not worried about this. It's my business. I trust my spirit.
Agreed.
And so even like the conversation we have behind the scenes, I wish I could have been a part of that, but it makes you really want to just stay tuned with the way that we're directing this path, because we are
Absolutely.
speaking into existence a beautiful manifestation, and you should witness it because we are doing what we say.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good, man. I'm just glad to be here with you. Like, it's interesting. When we first met you, Low start, like, he was like, hey, man, I think she's going to be really shy when, first got ready to speak at the Nessa's event, the Coochie Jackalea. I think it was the second event.
Yeah.
And, I was like, no, Los, that's not her. That's a caged tiger right there, brother. You know what I mean? And when you started speaking, it brought life to all of us, man. So we are so honored to be in your presence.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I'm grateful.
Thank you.
That kind of feedback though is new. Most times,
Really?
yes. So most times people will be like, and I'm like, I was just talking, but this is, indicative that I'm receiving and in agreement with what you say. Other audiences might say Ashe, like Asheo. We learn how to communicate effectively when we learn how to communicate. But the feedback of my words being life-giving, well, that's a beautiful blessing because that's my desire. Like, I know that I'm trusting God when I allow myself to speak freely. I'm an extemporaneous speaker, meaning I don't condition myself to the confines of a script, but I appreciate the order and operation of this. This is a beautiful platform. I feel at home. I feel like I'm surrounded by love and respect. And I'm just like, man, this is I'm on the people's podcast, y'all. Like, I've been the word petition. I'm 20 years in this game, but I'm like, yo, I get to be on the man. We gonna have fun. We gonna have a lot of fun.
I love it.
Right quick. That's what that means?
Okay, so a little school.
Yeah, John did
Let me tell you, we got
thinking that we're thinking, how he know that?
it's a top skill. So what I learned was from my poetry mother, Mama Neff. Mama Neff taught us that back in the day when we did not have the opportunity to come out the basement and we got to exchange our thoughts and have our speakeasies, this would be a way to quietly applaud, what was going on. Well, poets are creative, and so it's become the way of communication. Now, some artists are so scripted, they get distracted by this.
Right.
Let them be filed in the category of what they are, scripted. But for the ones who are speaking freely and have freedom, this is just an energy builder because it's like the that what is it called, a metronome, the thing that goes tick tick when you're playing.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah,
it's a great consistency
That's
because it's like a ripple effect.
Saying,
Yes, and it shows how the lights are going off. Right. I have experience being in places where I was most uncomfortable because everybody was being loud, obnoxious, kegling. But when I get on the mic, there is silence.
Absolutely.
No ice
Absolutely.
falls in the glass, they are still. And so I used to think they were just not paying attention, uninterested. I didn't know their silence meant they were so in awe of my gift or so open to receive what I said because they didn't give me that feedback.
Right.
So I'm grateful that my words with my intent are doing what I want. Life-giving.
That's funny because that happens to us.
Really?
And I'm like, man, nobody gonna call in or nothing. But Ron will say, because
they're so dumbfounded.
We're just watching. We don't want to interrupt.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll ask them, man, come on, all these people that wasn't gonna call in, and you say sometimes
It was a
call in and
compliment.
say, they didn't want to say shit.
It was
They're
a
like,
compliment.
I don't want to stop this.
Yeah,
Right.
it was a
Yeah,
compliment. It was a compliment
Yeah.
because whatever we were talking about, they were so engrossed in what
Right.
we were talking about,
Yeah.
they didn't want to interrupt it.
Right.
I couldn't think of a better compliment, to be honest with you.
My thought was, man, I mean, if y'all are into it, call.
Say something.
But then when he said it, I said, okay, I see. So they
And
were
see-
so engrossed that we don't want to stop.
That's the lesson that we teach in open mics. So I just had a feature in Phoenix a couple weeks ago. Shout out to Home Based Poetry. They really gave me a great experience. But the host, HB, he was talking about, he has no problem calling out an artist who has no coup. Don't you go to nobody's open mic acting like you have no sense, because there is an etiquette. And so when a host gets on stage and says the energy you give is the energy you receive, I'm gonna give you some shit if you give me shit.
Right.
But if you hear, you present, your phone is on silent, and I have your attention, I will give you what you need.
Absolutely.
Right.
So it's an etiquette. It's unspoken for some spaces, but I feel like if you experience open mic and you understand what we can do in 3 minutes, you'll appreciate brevity and condensing messages more effectively.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I gotta ask a couple
I'm
personal
here for it.
questions.
I'm
to
here
you.
for it. I want y'all to know me.
We're gonna interview you first, man.
Okay.
You know what I mean? We want to familiarize our audience with you because you are now a permanent part of this fiction.
Right.
Hey, so what got you into poetry to begin with?
Hi, Mama.
Talk to me.
So my mom is an amazing woman, and she taught me how to read by playing cards with me. We played gin rummy and spades. I was a pro by 3. And once she realized I had memorized the gist of all my Dr. Seuss books, and I was using synonymous terms in place of what was actually there, she started giving me more difficult reads, like Dorothy Parker books.
Oh,
And
shit.
so my award, right, I was awarded the opportunity to read a poem from Dorothy Parker until I was able to recite them because I won a hand. And I believe I was in kindergarten when I first published a book, and she was always supported. But my grandmother used to, my mother's mother, she knew that I had a gift, and she would say that, I was touched, or that I was, prophetic, or I had the ability of premonition because I would say things and they would happen. But I mean, we all have that power. Our tongue is powerful. It's in every book. But with regards to poetry in the sense of getting on stage, grief brought me that.
Great.
So for me, art therapy is something to supplement therapeutic experiences. And for me, getting on stage and being honest and open about the wounds I was experiencing was the most constructive for me. But then I had to be more mindful of my tongue because I was speaking and they were in agreement of what I was saying. And so when people were saying, love hurts and these things are absurd, I had to go back because I felt compelled to denounce those statements because I can't let the audience leave assuming what was spoken was true as if it was the only way to see things. And so for me, grief brought me to poetry, but it's always been in me. My mama writes, my daddy is poetic, I have very creative family members, but I became the word petition when I prayed for a pseudonym that would fit my spirit. And so literally it is the concept of placing words together in a formula that will give you the equation for the piece you seek to maintain logic with the emotional state you might find yourself
Absolutely.
in.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Interesting enough, it's something about grief and sadness in relation to the artist's ability to create. Because when I used to rap, people, believe it or not, this is like mid-90s, right? Early to mid-90s. When I would rap, people normally were listening to whoever their influences were. Big Daddy Kane, Rakim, KRS One, and that. When I wrote my words, I was listening to Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. I was listening to that kind of music. I was listening to Beethoven when I was writing. Because when you listen to those kind of artists, they transcend time. So your words are going to transcend time.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So,
Yes.
yeah, absolutely. I feel you 100%. If I may ask also, like, who in particular are your most influential influences when you come up with your poetry or extemporaneously speaking? Who formed you?
I believe that my gift is completely divine. I completely submit my tongue to the will of God.
Amen.
Sometimes I piss people off,
Good for them.
Sometimes I poke on bruises that I don't physically know exist.
Yeah.
But I truly believe this has been a growing experience, right? Like, I celebrated 20 years as the word musician, as an extemporaneous poet in Houston, April 16th. And in preparation, like, I mean, I had an opportunity to work with Saint. Man, you talk about an incredible creative, and just being able to acknowledge, like, I had finally gotten to a place where I could say I'd worked enough and earned enough to afford to celebrate
Sure.
what I had access to,
Absolutely.
right? And just getting to that state and understanding, like, I have not been trained, I have not been conditioned, I have not been taught. Like, my gift has not been taught. No one can do what I can.
Agreed.
But I feel like my obedience and my ultimate submission has made me able to do what I do. And so, to answer the question, the most important influence is your openness. Because if you're open to receive, I will give you what you need. And that's just how I operate. I do it at work. I do it for free. I do it because it frees you. And in turn, it frees me. Because if I fall silent, if I lie dormant, then I'm not productive. I feel like a waste of air.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want my breath to be in vain. I want to make sure that I'm speaking life into people.
Absolutely.
And enhancing their perspective. Because, they say perception is reality, but how realistic is your perspective if you were skewed? I want you to be open to it.
Everyone, she has her own platform on Tuesdays, and we're hoping, and Thursdays, but okay.
We're working on it.
We're working on it. If you like what you're hearing right now, trust me, all you have to do is go to thedailysmoke.com, and you will see the episodes this beautiful, talented woman has to offer, okay? So, hey, man, thank you so much. I want to ask you one more question.
Okay, I'm ready.
Do you get nervous before you perform?
So, I'm the mathematician, right? I'm an artist, not sensitive about my shit. I do not perform. I don't. A performance, a performance is a presentation of a recited piece of work that was written, rehearsed, and practiced. And that is stressful.
True.
Shout out to anybody who does that.
True.
I get nervous to this day, even on my way here.
Really?
Because I don't know. I have no idea what I'm going to say. But the nervousness is a physical embodiment of anxiety and things that I don't plan. So, yes, I go through the process. My heart palpitates. My hands get sweaty. I'm like, yo, is this going to be worth repeating? Like, are they going to watch it? But I'm just like, even if it's you, I'm okay with that. Because all I know is I'm giving my good energy to this platform. This is the People's Podcast. If you got feedback, give it to me. Let me know. If you got questions, ask them. I'm sure somebody in this incredible caliber of intelligence can answer your questions.
Absolutely.
But the whole point is I'm tired of seeing y'all eat from the empty cups of those who only succumb to what you'll buy, when I know a moment of your time is sufficient. Like, pay me in your moments.
Right.
Pay me in your moments. Pay me your time, and I will give you something so incredible you can keep it.
Absolutely.
I figure if they like what we do, they don't like what she does.
Absolutely. They should.
She's sitting there talking, I'm thinking that falls right in the same as we do.
She's right in
Talk
line.
about whatever the fuck you want here. We don't care
Yeah.
what you have to say. You say what you gotta say. That's your opinion. That's your opinion. The only time we may come at you is if you say something that you need to defend, and we may come at you and see how you defend it. Other than that, that's your opinion. You say what you want to say.
Tiffany is a blessing in disguise,
Yes, she
because
is.
when she was on our LGBTQ episode, afterwards, she was enthusiastic about our podcast. What made me even more enthusiastic was, if you want to be a part of our podcast, you are part of the podcast. You know what I mean? So she doesn't have to reference us in terms of your platform. She can use the possessive pronoun, our platform.
Right.
And we are so glad to have you with
I'm
us.
grateful.
We really mean that.
I
We
am.
really mean that. Thank you so much. We really
We're
mean
on
that.
a journey that's just going on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We're bringing the right people to us, man.
Right.
I'm all about it.
You're only open to that, and that's how you win, right? Like, if you're concerned with how to succeed with the vision that you have been holding on to, first of all, know you don't lose. Because when you know you don't lose, it does not matter the process, the obstacle, the mountainous feat. Like, you continue. And if sometimes you need a reminder or a tip or a tool, like, go to where the resource is, because I know I have access to incredible men who know incredible things, who are tied to incredible women who do incredible things. Like, your network is your network. And having a decent conversation with a regular human being is one of the most profound things, because I don't know who those surveys have gone to answer the top 10 questions of whatever the feud is, but family is a unit. And family is not always based on blood. Sometimes it's a choice. I choose to be respectful. I choose to take pride in my name being attached to what you're building. And I'm grateful that I have acquired enough to believe that I'm qualified to be in this space. You know, like we apply to jobs all the time hoping it'll pay enough to get what we need.
Right.
But no, like, we should apply ourselves more to be present, because this is the gift.
Right.
These human contact conversations, these closeness, like, man, it's been years since we've been this close to human beings that weren't our family. So this opportunity, I'm super grateful for. You know, we're gonna talk about everything. We're gonna talk about anything that you feel is necessary or worth your time, but more so how to see it in a way that is more effective, because this is not about you. It's not a victimization. You know, yes, people have differences of opinion. Facts are supported opinions. You're gonna support me because I speak with conviction. I know what I'm saying. But at the same time, the taboo topics, sex, hardships, like, we gonna talk about it. And at the same time, if you're facing a hardship, I know where to go to get relief. I'm grateful for that. Like, I am a complete tool. Use me up.
Man, we had an individual that was with us on Wednesday. Is that when Rafika was with us?
Mhm.
Man, what the camera didn't pick up was after the cameras went off, we was having a talk about human sexuality. And, you know, it's like four brothers and a sister. And we were talking about what turns you on, what turns you off, what you do and don't like, et cetera, et cetera. What I appreciated most about that whole conversation was, in private, she was like, Ron, I'm not used to those kind of conversations. I said, and I told you this, Brother Los, I said, hey, man, I heard that before. Tiffany said the same thing, this sister here. She said the same thing, like, I'm just not used to the kind of conversations y'all have. I'm like, what do you mean? She said, well, it's not so much that we could talk about what we talked about. What I loved was I didn't feel judged.
Fellas,
That's so important.
Follow
It's
me,
so
sister.
important. I'm here
Follow
for
me.
it. I'm here
Follow
for
me.
it.
Do you understand the compliment that woman gave us?
Yeah, I mean, that's
I'm
what
here
I'm
for
saying. And for us, it's like, you were just one of the brothers talking.
And now,
No.
you know what I mean?
Y'all, like, literally,
Good, man.
Ron just
Good,
whispered to me
man.
before we went live that I'm
Good.
safe. That in itself is a
Good,
very
man.
affirming and confirming presence,
man.
because some people don't know. Like, it's 2022, y'all. I'm sitting in somebody's setup with these two men, and it could be any other outcome.
Agreed.
See, I don't welcome any energy that's not pleasing to me,
Right.
because I don't deserve anything but respect.
Agreed.
But the declaration of you are safe in a very calm and subtle tone, like, we need that. And too many times Black men don't get celebrated enough. It's foreign to me that a father is present in the home, present with his wife. You here, and being able to be here. That, you know, we've got all these men who, you know, taking care of their mother, tending to their children, really being themselves. Like, they don't put y'all on TV. This is foreign. This is worth listening to, right? This is the People's Podcast, so you can hear the truth about Black men dealing, Black men surviving, Black men healing.
Right.
At the same time, this comfortable seat for women to sit and feel just as welcome, just as safe, just as free to be. I am, and I'm grateful. Like, I know the value where I'm at.
And that
I know it.
And that plays like how Ron says sometimes, we don't care who you are, whether you are LGBT, whether
Yeah.
you're Black,
You're fucking
white,
racist.
you can be racist and not like us. You
Be
have something to
you,
say.
boo.
Just come and be you.
Yes,
You know,
because
we
it's
tell-
not gonna stop y'all from being great.
Right. We tell a
Thank
lot
you.
of people, like, you know, you thank us for making you feel comfortable. Like, we didn't do shit different. We do what we did, and you just fell in. And
Man, look, let me tell you
it
something.
worked out.
So for me, it's the words that stay. Words are so powerful, but sometimes they just linger. My pastor, Rudy Rasmus, St. John's Downtown, put out this book many years ago. A little purple and gold book. It's really maroon, I guess, by Rick Warren, The Purpose-Driven Life. First sentence, page 1. It's not about you. That was enough for me. The whole purpose of life. It's not about you. I am literally planting seeds. I'm grateful because when I die, my words will live. Somebody will listen to this later. Like, we're still rolling on the river of the words spoken from our ancestors. We are still living out the premonitions of what came to fruition because of sweat, blood, and tears. Like, I'm history in the making. We are living ancestors. I know all the people who are worth documenting. And I'm grateful because I have only aspired to be strong enough, stable enough, equipped enough to do what I'm supposed to. Like, the People's Podcast, y'all, it's where I'm going to be at. It's where you should stay tuned because this is where it's at. Peaceful, productive, and progressive. And when you look at the news and current events and you listen to people talking about freedom of speech and then yanking our rights from us, the People's Podcast is maintaining that, maintaining our freedom to not agree, but to be present and respectful.
Absolutely.
I can get with it.
We all have different opinions. We're not the same. But we respect your opinion. Like I said, as long as you ain't coming here talking shit, I grew an arm off my arm. Come on now, let's go.
Yeah.
You grow no arm off your other arm. That we don't want.
Right.
And then we also know those that do come here, we feel the energy right away.
Of course.
We know it. That's why we always say, hey, no, we can hug around here. When you come in,
You owe me
I'll shake
one.
your hand. Right.
Give hugs around here.
And that's what we say and what we do, but we would know if you don't belong.
Of course.
So,
Man, there's this amazing advocate in Houston, Words from Rasta. Aubrey is an amazing creative. They've got some poems out in the community about their own survival after 22 attempts of suicide. And then coming before the age of, before the age of 24, if even 20, like, to know that you have people who have literally faced the obstacles. Because it's one thing to say, oh, guys, just keep living. If you haven't, nobody will really appreciate you. But I know struggle. I am burnt on the edges. I know going without. I know hindrances. I know things that cannot be overcome by yourself. And at the same time, like, I know people who do too. And so Words from Rasta has this whole campaign about spread love, not hate, giving out free hugs. And even audaciously during the pandemic because they knew that was necessary. So we give free hugs around here. Like,
right.
Yes, because look, if you don't know how to hug somebody, inhale before the embrace and you exhale over their shoulder. And if you go this side, your heart's touch, you can be more intentional because that puts you in a position of strength, power, and not being attacked by whatever they carry or are going through. Like, there is a way. There's always a solution. And I'm telling you, touch is the language of love that we are lacking. And we need to make sure that we are coherent and completely fluent in it.
I have no problems telling people this. I'm a survivor of suicide. And I don't think there's anything outside of a mother's love that a hug is superseded by. When I meet people that I really connect with, I recognize the importance of that life so much, I don't want to form an engagement. I want to connect with them. And that's why we give hugs here. I mean that. And I'm not going to go into it because I get emotional and start getting teary-eyed on camera.
It's okay to cry, just breathe.
I'm good on that. I'm good on that. I'm good on that.
We do it behind the scenes, y'all.
But, and we did shows for it. We did shows for it. But, man, I don't know what it is, but I really believe, like,
Okay.
Like, because I suffered with that level of depression and hopelessness for so long, I really believe I have a way of connecting with people that have had that challenge. And that is my life call. And this platform that we have here, I got to be 100%.
You cannot be any other way.
I have always seen this platform as a way of reaching people I normally would not have access to let them know wherever you are, it can get better. That's why on Mondays and Wednesdays, now whatever we do, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, whatever, Fridays, whatever, that's cool. I'm not tripping. Because you have to have something to cover the entire spectrum of human experience.
Yeah.
So I'm not tripping. I'm not trying to be no fucking dictator, every day we're going to do this, whatever. Like when the sister came on with us, whatever you want to do it. Just make sure you're interested in it. Hey, man, I've always been interested in reaching the hopeless. My challenge was, because I did it for the government for so long, bureaucracy. That's what messed with me. But I never lost my love for the people, ever. So much that on Facebook, it's true, Jeff. People on Facebook would reach out to me like, hey, man, I'm a former client of yours. You and I used to work together, for so many years. I didn't remember them, not because they were not important. I didn't remember. It was just so many, which speaks to the point. Look how much hopelessness is out there, which speaks to the point. I don't really remember you specifically because there are so many people hurting.
Man, let me tell you something.
You know what I mean?
The George Floyd March. I'm standing on the steps listening to our Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee speak. And I hear in the background someone scream out, "Love is the religion I practice."
Amen.
I grew up wanting to be quoted.
Amen.
I don't like being misquoted because some people misconstrue what I said just by the twist
will.
of a word or
Yes,
the
will.
misplacement of a punctuation mark,
Yes,
right?
they will.
But the fact that something I spoke out of my spirit during a place of my own grief, I could be quoted in a time where I needed it because there is anger, there is hostility, there is fear. Those are not things we embrace. Even with you talking about your own truth. If you have never wanted to die, if you have never thought this is it, I can't take it, and then woke up the next day, you have no idea. But yes, there is peace on the other side of this nightmare. There are joys and bouts of laughter on the other side of these tears. There is a way to get through it, and I promise you, Ron, I'm telling you, 3 and 7. I don't care what you're going through. You will not get through anything in life without breathing.
Absolutely.
And if you breathe the right way, with intention and appreciation, you can expect life to go away with peace. Like, if you get asked too many questions, if you experience any mental incapacitating process of, disgruntled behavior or ideologies and ideations that make you feel uncomfortable, like you're not supposed to be here, anything that makes you uncomfortable, if it's not going well or how you want it, just breathe. Because that's an observation. We get to speak life over ourselves, healing over ourselves, prosperity into ourselves, and anyone under the sound of my voice can have it too. But at the same time, if you're dealing with something that's not comfortable, that's not you not knowing how to get through it. That's you getting through it for the first time. I promise you.
That's
if you continue, you keep going through, you realize you become the teacher, you become the speaker, you become the healer, you become you. And that process of becoming is a growing experience. It gives me goosebumps. I'm just like, man, 20 years, I didn't know what I was doing. I was just doing what I knew. And now I'm just like, my tongue stays dipped in honey. Everything I speak is sweet. My energy can only be matched and increased, but I promise you, if you need somebody to tell you how to get through this part of life,
hey, man, let me ask you a question, man. I know we're on camera and all that. If you don't feel comfortable answering the
I'm okay
questions,
with answering anything.
Cool. All right. Hey, man, I pick up from you, and I may be wrong, but I pick up from you. You actually saw the beauty in brokenness. Tell us about your experience, because I got one as well. That's a beauty in brokenness, isn't it?
So when you said there's a beauty in brokenness, I literally envision a broken egg. I know what I can do with an egg. Okay. I know how to make a beautiful meringue. I know how to make icing. I know how to make life sustain itself. Follow me. Okay. So in the sense of brokenness and the breakdown is necessary for build up. And so the sense of like lies on love and how parts break. Parts don't break. Parts are muscles. They stretch. They expand. They increase their capacity to hold love, right? And so for one aspect of the word, I can say my brokenness was a broken home. My brokenness was daddy issues or detachments or any term that could have been derived from a book of someone else's following. But what I know is in my breakdowns, I have been built up to be a beautiful display of what happens when buildings are sustained. Absolutely. Right? By grace. Like, what is your foundation on? Like, I am cemented in faith. It don't shake. And I was just telling you, like, it really does boggle my mind when someone says their faith is shaking. Like, no, that's not faith, boo. That's doubt. Faith don't shake. It's like jam. It don't jiggle. Like that. Right, that is a constant consistency. Same way I have faith, I can breathe. If my last breath comes in this conversation, I know I gave what I had in that moment. Keep it. Have the prosperity of it. But in my brokenness of experiencing grief, I am living today the aftermath of choosing to walk away from people I love so dearly.
That's right.
Because my experience with grief in a close proximity was so debilitating for me. I did not know how to get through it. And people only knew to let me go through it because they didn't know my process either.
Right.
And they wanted to give me that freedom of choice to figure it out. Well, I didn't choose to do drugs. I didn't choose to go, get drunk. I didn't choose to go be angry. I didn't choose to be destructive. I chose to isolate. And I know from experience that shit don't work effectively. Because your friend of 23 years gets married and you don't go. And people that, you have been so close to or going through transitions and you're not there. And the conversation of, oh, well, my friends are busy with their friends and family. Well, hold on now. How are you not friends and family? Like the whole concept of it. I'm going into even my experience right now. So I'm going to a funeral on Monday that I wasn't invited to in a way that makes me feel welcome, but I was advised of the information and I could choose to do as I please.
Sure.
And so I'm grateful for the support system I do have so I can do that, open to whatever happens, aware that I'll get through it because those are my intentions. But also aware that people process grief in a way that's not always constructive.
Yeah.
So in the brokenness there is beauty because I'm ready for this. I have been built and conditioned and prepared for this experience because I have been the person to lay to rest someone's daughter who lived for an hour. I've been the person to lay to rest someone's mother who died abruptly. Like, I have seen and stood in spaces that I cannot fathom for myself. And so to know that I get to be that same person, open to give love, even if it's not embraced, I'm confident in that, as opposed to that fear. I'm telling y'all, like the other side of fear is freedom. If you are afraid to do something, if you're afraid to say something, if you're afraid to be something, your freedom is on the other side. And that is power. So in the brokenness of you breaking down whatever's causing you to be quiet or causing you to be still, move. Shake the earth. It works.
I know this gonna seem weird.
I don't think
Just
so.
walk with it.
Okay.
Did you ever see a movie that came out in theaters called Atomic Blonde?
No.
All right, let's check it out. There's a movie called Atomic Blonde, and it's with Charlize Theron. She's a spy, and this is during the Cold War in Germany. And she was in this club having a really good time. I can relate to that scene because I used to live in Europe.
Okay.
And so when I lived in Europe, I was like, man, they really enjoying themselves. I missed that part of my life. In the background of the scene, Brother Los, they had this fluorescent light that said, everything you want is on the other side of fear.
Yes.
That's all I got to say.
Yes. Every single thing.
That's right.
That's all I got to say, man. You know what I mean? My best experiences in my life was when I was in Europe. And when I saw that, I was like, oh my God, I need to wake up. And here I am, you know?
That's why we say, don't be scared. Come on.
Don't be
Nah,
scared.
man.
Don't be scared.
If nothing
Don't be
else,
scared.
Los, you discover yourself.
Absolutely.
Like I've never been. I've been on podcasts where the floor was open to me explaining breath and breath work. And always open to me explaining my audacity to, not have but still give when it came to my service. But this experience was new for me. Being in a space where I'm witnessing men take ownership of their actions, take accountability for their contributions to the defamation of what you sustained so you can rebuild it and fix that hole, patch that. Like real healthy relationships, y'all, they exist. I've only heard poems. I've only heard poems about black men being amazing. I've only heard poems about black men being worth it. They're about people who respect their black men. But to be able to meet them, to see them behind camera, offset, and they actually have integrity. They actually have respect. They actually have passion. They have children. They have wives. They have family. They matter. Their lives matter. And if nothing else, this is proof. I'm telling you,
Man,
we are fun.
When you showed up for the LGBTQ episode, what got our attention the most was like, I don't know how much you know this, and if this is new to you, okay, this is real. If it isn't new to you, it's a compliment. Hey man, when we finished that episode, which I thought was done in a very respectful, intellectual, emotional manner, you were all about being a part of us. And everything that you embody is what we're all about. You could not have given us, anyone could not have given us, other than Tamir, could not have given us a greater compliment. We are so grateful to have you. I mean this from my heart.
Thank you.
We are so grateful to have you as a part of us. There's nothing that you can't do on this podcast that we wouldn't approve of because we trust you.
I crave trust more than people crave attention.
We trust you.
I do. You know what?
We trust you.
In all honesty, the overjoy that I experienced of wanting to be a part of this, C5, Chanel Albright, convicted me when I got back into the workforce. So I was attacked by a police officer on campus when I was matriculating in college. And I literally lived off my art and my disability for several years. When I finally went back to work, Chanel told me, she was like, your privilege is going to show itself. Because when I walk in a room, nobody knows who I spend my time with when I'm not on that clock. And it's not assumed, it's not presumed, it's not even something they consume themselves with. But someone who looks like her, someone who looks like Tamia, someone who looks like, anyone else who can easily be assumed to be a part of a community that is completely ostracized, they get treated differently. And so for me, I take a very, 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 very intentional stance on my privilege and being an ally for those who don't know I am too. Me too. It happened to me too, right? So when it comes to me telling you where to spend your money, where to apply your time, where to get your product, it's because I know authentically where you'll be respected. Absolutely. And so it's not just staying in our little niche and, like our Wall Street is not just this one space. Like we're completely crossing over into interracial, intergalactic opportunities where we
Amen.
can expand and blur the line
Amen.
and just be
Amen.
in existence. Like it is so beautiful
Amen.
to witness. But I am biracial, I am a lesbian, I am a person of service, I'm a woman of faith.
Good
and for anybody who believes that you can't be all of those things, talk to me.
Yeah,
because I apply it. I apply it effectively. But I'm telling you, like, Ron, the fact that you were just as open to receive all of our perspectives and it not be, sex driven. Well, how do y'all do this? And people ask the stupidest shit.
That's the most mundane
But I mean, like how low is
so
it?
mundane.
But what was so amazing, Lo, is like what we had was a normal conversation because we normal.
Right.
Humanity is normalcy. Like it's the let me point my finger at what you do that they said wasn't okay because the things that you be doing can't be shown. Fuck that.
Right.
Be yourself.
We wanted to know, do y'all appreciate having a month? We don't know. And
do we appreciate having 28 days?
And there was two different responses to that. So that to us it was like, wow, just to hear that. And what this had
man, let me tell you. So
this just had to do with we're celebrating what you're celebrating.
Yeah.
We want to bring it to our people.
But it's
Whether
new.
we agree or don't agree, we don't give a damn. We're celebrating these people right now.
It's
we don't
new.
care if you don't agree.
It's new that we get to do it every day.
Right.
Same way, McDonald's, everybody don't eat there no more. But they were 365 black. That might have been a really good propaganda, but it's a beautiful statement and it should be the case. And at the same time, we got Pride 365 thanks to Kendra and Thasia and whoever is behind the scenes helping them do what they see fit, because you got two black women doing some incredible things for a community that is not giving them what they deserve. And it's not accolades, it's support. Like we need to be sustained. And it's not because we want 30 days, 28 days, or 15 minutes of fame. It's because there are people coming that will be here long after we are gone. They need not throw bricks through windows to get attention.
Right.
They should be acknowledged.
I got a question. Brother Lewis, how much time we got left, man?
We still got time.
We do?
About 20 minutes.
Hey, man, I want to have a conversation with Tiffany regarding something she said, man. And we had this before, so I really mean this. I was arguing with people in the early 2000s about why gay and lesbian individuals should have the right to marry. And the first thing I had to overcome was, okay, no, motherfucker, that ain't got nothing to do with what I'm talking about. That's
like,
number one.
It's like a man voting for a woman's right to her body, even though he doesn't have a uterus.
Exactly. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Same shit.
You can still support.
I recognize right when I see right.
It's ally shit.
What got me though was I was like, hey man, they should be recognized equally, period. If you don't want to recognize them, don't take their money. Don't tax them. Because they're going to be treated like secondhand citizens. Don't tax them. Because taxation without representation is tyranny.
Yes, it is.
That's what the Constitution and the Federalist Papers say. My only question, my love, was it is not that I don't understand or recognize the transgender argument. Because I think a lot of parents, we can talk frankly, I think a lot of parents,
Thank you, podcast.
I think a lot of parents fucked over their kids by choosing for them what gender they should be.
Mm-hmm.
And I got the research to show it. The experiments they did with individuals in those situations were reprehensible on every level. That's not what I'm talking about.
But you could, because even with the sense of what do you want, and they say I just want a healthy baby, as opposed to I want a son, I want a son, I want a son. Now you got a stud, or now you got a trans man,
I'm
or
tripping on that.
like it just, people have the your tongue is powerful.
Hey,
It
man,
is. But the point
That's
what's your
messed up. But that's agreed to your point. I'm riding on your thunder. To your point, hey man, when I see an individual with an identity crisis, I don't see an individual wanting to be recognized for their sexual preference. I just see the two totally different. But I may be wrong, and I'm open to that.
Okay, well,
I'm open
okay.
to that.
So I feel like, for one, I want to understand what you're meaning by the trans argument.
Okay. So you got 2 points. You got one where you have the point that I can reference is hermaphrodism. So an individual that has both organs or whatever, it can go either way. So if the parents make the bad decision in the beginning, I could see how nature plays out in the other direction. And now you have a transgender argument on your hands.
Okay.
Because, hey man, they chose me female, but I could have equally been a male.
Okay.
And it didn't go that way because someone else made the decision for me.
Okay.
My heart goes out to you. I'm on your side.
All right. Well,
But I don't think that's the same argument as having saying, hey, I'm a woman and I'm attracted to other women, or I'm a man and I'm attracted to other men. I think those are two different arguments.
well, I mean, every conversation is different. First and foremost, y'all, I am not a person of trans experience. I do not speak on behalf of anybody. Just
Sure,
a disclaimer, neither does
sure,
Ron
sure,
or anybody of the podcast.
Thank you.
But out of the sake of a healthy dialogue and conversation, no, they're not the same.
Absolutely.
The fight, the strife, the struggle of a gay man, a queer man, a bisexual man, or a trans man, not the same. We get locked up into this little category of other, of deviance, of deviating from the point of your topic at hand, if you will, and they just clamor everybody into a thing. It's, for me, almost as insulting as Gwendolyn Brooks' reference of One Drop. Now
Agreed.
that poem is so profound because she was before her time. But the concept of it is, if you have one drop of black blood, you're black. Well, not every person in the
Agreed.
culture wants to adopt that as truth.
Agreed.
Because just because you got a drop don't mean you know anything about the
Agreed.
turnips.
Agreed.
Right?
Agreed.
And so the same thing goes for people who are kink, people who are intersex, people who are fluid. It's not necessarily going to be as supported by those who are living this experience in a different way because it's a different experience. But I believe we should all have the right to do what we want.
Agreed.
But to answer your question, yes, it's different. I think it's because we got caked up into the same topic of conversation, and they're just like, oh, those people, like they do black people, they just push us out the way as if it's not worth talking about. A person of trans experience is not always going to be a person of an LGBT experience. The T is a transitioning experience. Some people are transitioning to accepting themselves.
Okay.
Now, some trans people were not born hermaphrodites.
Sure.
Some trans people were born with more than enough of these chromosomes or these characteristics and had feminine ways or masculine ways, and it fits them. You know, it's remiss of me not to acknowledge that it depends on the person and the circumstance. And that's why I told you earlier, like, I mean, I might not personally agree with giving a child HRTs, but I do agree that parents should have the right to be supportive and not have their children go through all the things that people have gone through to reverse things that never should have like been their process. But I don't necessarily think that it's fair to have that conversation without those individuals being able to contribute. So if you see this, you hear this, you have something to say, we can talk about it later. But the whole concept of categorizing, right? People of the trans experience undergo all types of experiences with those hormones because it's drugs. Absolutely. And so you have an individual who may have been straight their entire life for the people because it's what they said was normal. And then they realize, not only do I feel like this isn't right, I feel like I'm in the wrong body. Look at the Kardashian stepdad. You know, right. So many people saw that as an opportunity to, you know, to devour the fight of what the community has been doing. But in all honesty, like, that does not take away from their freedom to become themselves.
I agree 100%.
You know, the fight for our rights to be ourselves. I don't know any person of trans experience who wants to be called a trans person. And they want to be called who they identify as, and that's why they transition. But we've got these spokespeople and individuals who are creating change while creating conflict and confusion, and I'm not with it. But if you want to know about it, ask respectfully. Hey, I lack intelligence on topics that pertain to your lifestyle and how you move around. I would like to be an ally. I aspire to be supportive. I want to understand you as a human being. So what can I do to support you? As opposed to assume something wrong with you or something wrong with you because I don't understand. So the fight for our rights as LGBTQIA plus is for us to be just as deserving of our freedom as anybody who's not. But I do agree they're different because sexual orientation does not constitute sexual identity. Nor does it mean neither of those things are relevant because they are. They matter.
See, that was my whole issue. Like, I'm going to speak as plainly as I can. So that way I'm not misunderstood. That's, okay. That's very important. That's important, yeah. That is very important.
Intent is with love. Come on.
Like, what broke my heart with the LG community was when they adopted the trans argument to be a part of their movement. And what I was trying to reconcile was, it's not that they should not be recognized and respected, but you have to realize their conversation is a different conversation.
What about the conversation that a person would transition to the other gender because they believe what the Bible told them and they weren't supposed to lay with the same gender, so they became the opposite to live right? There are arguments, there are beliefs. People really do have other things to say. We don't hear those topics. We don't hear those rebuttals or those stances because we're not open to it as a collective. But it's not always what the media said. It's not always because they have penis envy. It's not always because they are trying to take away the power of the woman. They're not. That's not the case at all.
Right.
And for one, like I told you, it's not about you. And anybody in this human experience, when you acknowledge that their experience has nothing to do with you, nothing, then you can accept that it's not your business.
Before we go any further, we're good, right?
Yeah, no, we're great.
All right, so.
Now, those are topics that we're bringing on.
Yeah.
Because her show's going to be the same, where
I'm good with that.
We're gonna talk about everything, right?
In other words,
thank you for that conversation. Thank you so much.
In other words, what I'm saying is, like, so this show is also going to be like the show. If you want to be experienced and be on her show, you're more than welcome to fill out the application.
Absolutely.
We'll have to come in.
I want to say this. I really mean this. Like, yeah, I am a Christian, if you want to call it that. But I really understand human rights. And that's why I'm all about the LG community. You understand? Because I'm about human rights.
So what about the B, the Q, the I,
No. Not that they don't deserve it. No. Oh. Not that they don't deserve it. What I'm saying is, and the B also, they're included. But when you start talking about the transgender, you're not talking about what you're attracted to. You're talking about who you feel you are or how you feel you are.
That should not be an argument.
And that
Right.
and that shouldn't be included in that conversation. You understand what I'm saying? Like, because these people here, they were marginalized, ostracized because, hey man, you know what? I'm in love with another woman. I'm in love with another man. Wait, goddamn, everybody ain't a damn Christian. Everybody's not a damn Muslim. Everyone doesn't think like you. This woman here could go into Hinduism. There's no issue. She could become a Hindu right now and go right now to Delhi. And there are many damn buildings built where men are having sex with men, women having sex with women, and that's a part of their religion. They're not hung up on sex. They've moved past that. But if you start saying now that I'm classified as a man, but I feel like a woman, I think identity is different than what you're talking about, what you're sexually attracted to. And the reason I'm so passionate about this is because I think the gay and lesbian and bisexual community is getting a whole lot of problems because of the transgender argument that doesn't belong in that conversation. That's why I'm going so hard. People are saying, hey man, you know, they're doing this. This is what they're doing now. Man, gays, lesbians, transgender, all that, you know, to hell with all of them, X, Y, and Z. I'm like, you don't understand what you're talking about. Like, everyone deserves the right to love who they want to love.
No, but let me tell you something. Ain't no person in my audience, nobody in my reach or on my seat of my sofa talking about to hell with straight folks. I have never heard that.
Absolutely.
I have never
Absolutely.
heard that.
Absolutely.
I have seen trans
Absolutely.
women, trans men. I have seen men,
Absolutely.
women, and those who don't even identify as
Absolutely.
either advocate
Absolutely.
for black rights,
Absolutely.
advocate for the freedom of our Hispanics in these cages,
Absolutely.
advocate,
Absolutely.
even though they're hated. But I have never heard anybody in the LGBTQIA plus community say to hell with straight folks.
Absolutely. James Baldwin, one of our favorite, most prominent civil rights leaders, was a gay man.
Yeah.
If you know anything about early Harlem, you had a whole lot of gay African American men that couldn't come out because society wouldn't allow them to. You understand what I'm saying? I get that. The love. When you start talking about transgender, then what you're saying is this. Let's say I'm a man. Well, I'm a man. All right. Are we good?
Yeah,
You promise we good?
Promise.
All right. My love.
I don't
Thank
get
you.
uncomfortable.
Thank you. No doubt. Thank you, my love. So I'm a man. I'm attracted to women.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like a woman. I get a sex change. I become a woman. And I still stay attracted to women. Because that's what I was attracted to begin with. Does that make me a lesbian?
Your identity is your decision. People will label you as they see fit, and they'll ask you
Agreed.
questions, and they'll want to make it make sense because
Agreed.
they need to categorize and
You
label
always be
things.
trying.
No. I'm still attracted. Follow me. I'm still attracted to the same sex I was attracted to prior to the transition. I just transitioned.
Like I told you, your sexual identity does not constitute your sexual orientation.
Agreed.
Okay?
Absolutely.
So, like
Agreed.
I said, like when you're
Absolutely.
taking hormonal drugs, there are
Agreed.
imbalances, there are balances. Some would even argue that the drugs, the HRTs, if they were to give that to people as they're going through puberty, it would transition them to be aspiring to attraction of the opposite gender as they want the societal norm to be. But I have witnessed individuals who take these drugs and at a turning point of their transition, they, go from female to male and are attracted to males. Like
What were they attracted to before?
women. Because if you're a lesbian, you changing to a man might not change the makeup that's making you attracted to women. At the same time, you've got women who transition to be men and date women because they don't feel like they're wrong anymore. Like, there are so many arguments. You don't know everybody's truth because of a blanketed assumption.
But wouldn't that still make them a lesbian?
The titles are completely irrelevant. Man, anybody over 50, they don't claim that. I don't know a person over 50 who claims to be gay or trans or a lesbian. They are a human. They got
Absolutely,
rights.
yes,
They've been fighting
absolutely.
for them, right?
Yes.
But at the same time, I support the young ones who need to be classified,
Absolutely.
identified, and categorized as they see fit. But
Absolutely.
no, it does not make you a lesbian just because you like women.
Got you.
It doesn't.
Got you.
Not just because you have, and when you say you
Gotcha.
like women, you might like to have sex with women. It does not mean you're a lesbian. You might like to have sex with men. That does not mean you're gay. When you look at a lifestyle and a sexual orientation, those are different. You might live a gay lifestyle with a heterosexual orientation. You might only do missionary. You might not let anybody touch you. Like, there's all these different ways of doing it. You have women who will not be touched. They don't get head. They don't get penetrated. They barely get kissed. And they are okay with that. You have people who practice their faith in a way that they don't feel right having sex. They live their life. It is, yes, it is.
Language.
Because of word choice. When y'all have your show on Monday about the use of words,
Language.
yes,
Problem.
because it is perceived. I'm telling you, perception is realistic only when your view is not skewed. You cannot run with your assumptions. It don't work. Ask somebody for confirmation.
Absolutely.
How do you like to identify yourself? And go from there. Don't assume because it looks like a duck, it's a duck.
And there you have it.
Yes. This is what you're going to be getting.
These kind of conversations. Thank you so
Open
much.
dialogue,
Lord. Thank you so
uncomfortable
much.
topics
Thank
that don't
you so
discomfort
much.
us.
Thank you so
Ask
much.
whatever you want to.
I am so honored. Thank you so
I'm
much,
grateful.
Lord. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Let them know where they can reach. Let them know where
Yes,
they
yes,
can be
yes.
on the show.
Oh yeah, you can be on the show if you fill out the application to be on the show and ask for the word petition. Go to thedailysmoke.com. Make sure if you liked it, you tip us.
You better.
Sign TD Smoke. I'm just saying. People's Podcast, we're here for you.
I'm Brother Ron, man, and I enjoyed this conversation. I am so proud and honored to have you as a part of us.
I'm grateful.
We love her. Yes.
Thank you,
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm out, man. Go ahead, Lois.
I'm Los. Big Smoke.
I love it.
Peace.
Peace.
This was fun.
Thank